Well, we made it. Cedarian Morgan is now officially an Alabama commitment.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. I'm getting some texts that are cracking me up about this. But hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. I'll tell you about Monarch Money in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. Thanks, everybody, for making your first listen every single day. And this time, your second listen. You know why? Because this is awesome. I'm super thrilled. One of my Ellick City comrades has just committed to the University of Alabama. We don't get a lot of those Ellick City dudes committing. We had one years ago when El Toro Freeman committed to Auburn or ended up at Auburn. And I can't remember the linebacker's name. I don't think he ever made it to school. I mean, he ended up having to go to junior college. And I don't think he ever actually came to Alabama. So, and then there was the Bolt kid who committed to Bama. Many years ago, like in the 80s. But other than that, it's been sort of slim pickings for Ellick City kids. But this kid, hey, this is the one I wanted more than any of them. Jimmy, and I'm going to give you the floor for a second.
Yeah, CD Morgan is one of the best wide receivers in the country at 6'4". And you know, some kids list themselves at 6'4". This is a legitimate 6'4" framed kid. He's thick, weighs approximately 220 pounds. There are tight end prospects his size, but make no mistake, this is a wide receiver. He's got the quick twitch. He's got hips. He's got flexibility. He's a natural route runner. His hands are fantastic. Certainly a little bit on the bigger side. You know, we said on the show this morning that a good comp for him is Julio Jones. Now, keep in mind, we're not saying he's Julio and is going to have Julio's career, but he's like Julio in the sense he's built like Julio. He has a play style similar to Julio Jones. Julio is his idol. Some of this is by design. He wants to play like Julio. And Alabama fans should know what that looks like. We're not saying he's going to have Julio's career. That's not fair to CD. It's not fair to Julio either, because you're talking about one of the great careers in the history of wide receivers. But what is CD Morgan's upside? How good can he be? I mean, you know, you're probably in Julio ballpark. So, boy, very exciting. Huge day for Kalen DeBoer. And shout out to Coach Shepard, Jamarcus Shepard, who I think just did a lot of the work here.
We want to give a shout out to Cole's son, Rawson. He said, we watch you guys every day. Appreciate you. Appreciate you watching, Rawson. You sound like a great American. Happy 4th of July to you. Yeah, this is look, Jimmy and I called it. I called Jimmy about a week ago, plus or minus, and I think we were all pretty confident anyway, but I'd gotten some info that made me feel like, yeah, we're getting Cedarian Morgan. That deal's just cut. And so I have not worried about it for 1 second in the last week or two. So
he actually committed at his official visit with the coaching staff, and of course kept it on the down low so he can make the big announcement today, July 2nd. But he committed to the staff on the Sunday of his official visit.
KLS 48 says, I never watched Locked On Bama after a loss. How bad did Luke rip us after the Vandy loss? Bad. I ripped us bad. And I also ripped his wardrobe bad, which also went viral and got me death threats. But that's okay.
It was the first time.
People don't like jokes. But anyway.
Yeah, Luke caught a virus. It was that bad. Luke caught a virus. It was that bad. I called it, and I mean this because, heck, they even used it on the documentary. I said after the Vanderbilt game that it was maybe the worst Alabama defensive performance of all time.
Yeah.
I said that on the show, partly because I meant it and partly because I was upset after the loss too. And then it got played on the Tide That Binds documentary that I said that. But I do say also, in addition to saying that, which I stand by, Alabama's defense as a whole last year, the 2024 defense was the best Alabama defense since 2017. That Vanderbilt game was just a glaring exception to what was otherwise a high-quality group.
Yeah, and going back to Morgan here for a second, I've seen this a lot, and actually this is on a text chain, or at least this theme was, which we're on with a bunch of other folks, Alabama fans, and we see a lot of Auburn people saying things like, hey, if Auburn can just win 7 or 8 games, we can flip a lot of these guys. I'm going to say again, and maybe this ends up on some Auburn podcast that, takes that didn't age well or whatever. I don't think that's true at all. And plus, what's the big magic number about winning 7 or 8 games? Why would let him? If Cedarian Morgan is sold on Alabama right now, by the way, a team that, even though somebody pointed this out, the 9-4 record for Kalen DeBoer was like the best first-year record for an Alabama coach in God knows how long, right?
I think he's the first-year coach to win 9 games at Alabama. Now, obviously, that comes with a lot of caveats, but
yeah, sure,
that is a thing. It is a thing.
So, so you could make the argument that, okay, but Kalen DeBoer didn't win 10 games, and we had won 10 games for 15, 16, 17 straight years. So you could say, oh, they're on a downward trend. And you could say, hey, look, Jalen Milroe regressed even. If I'm trying to be negative here for a second, giving a pitch to Cedarian as if I were Auburn or another school. And so why would you think that if he's going to overlook those things, why would you think that if you win 7 or 8 games, that it's going to be like, oh my God, look at this team. They are on the come up. 7 or 8 wins isn't going to do much for anybody. I just don't think so.
I also think, and this could be proven wrong. Speaking of old takes exposed, y'all go ahead and hit the record because this could prove wrong. But just an early take I have of this new world. Too many people, I was just discussing this on the same text chain Luke was talking about. Too many people are still living in the NIL world. Like this is NIL recruiting. That all ended with the House settlement. We're in a new landscape. Now, exactly what that new landscape is and exactly how it's going to play out, a lot of that is yet to be seen. We don't know for sure. We're just sort of guessing our way through. But one of my guesses here is I do think there will be less flips than there was. I think less flips total.
I agree.
This is why. It's because before these dudes commit, they know what their rev share total is. They know because now they can negotiate with the school, not the collective, not their agent talking to the NIL collective, but the agent and the kid talking to the school knows what the financial deal is, and it's set. It's hard to believe someone's going to swoop in with a lot more rev share. I mean, that just doesn't even make a lot of mathematical sense. I just think there's just and you can't really swoop in with some giant NIL deal. It has to pass through NIL Go before it can be authenticated as a legitimate NIL deal. I think that's going to mean less flips. So if this is Auburn's strategy, and by the way, it's not, that's just fans talk. That's Auburn fans wish casting. And hey, I'm guilty of that sometimes too. They want something to be true, so they predict it to be true. I think, nothing against Auburn, I think there will be less flips.
I agree.
New rev share world we're in.
Okay, I really want to go back to Cedarian here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's a 5-star on 2 services, 24/7 in Rivals. He's a 4-star, a very high 4-star on 3. He's the number 29 player in the country, which has got to be like right at the cutoff. And then on ESPN,
all 3 were 32 5-stars when the cycle ends. Yeah. So
he'll be one of them.
As of today, he really is a 5-star. They just don't award that 5th star because they don't want to take them away from kids, which is a great philosophy. They don't want to say today he's a 5-star and then end of the cycle he's not. They want to award permanent 5th star, so they kind of wait it out.
Gotcha. And that's coming from a guy that used to work for On 3, so he knows what he's talking about, folks. But ESPN bafflingly has him at number 47. Now, I want to I just said this on the radio, and that's why we were late getting to the show. Some people are like, yeah, Luke's drinking a pina colada and in the pool. Those things may have been happening too, but really what was keeping me late was I was on the radio. And so I had to cut that short. But I said, look, if there are 46 other guys.
You like pina coladas?
I love pina coladas.
Do you like getting caught in the rain?
Yes. Yes. There's something about the sand dunes.
Are you not into yoga, or are you into champagne?
Yeah, the dunes of the Cape. They're some of my favorite spots. But anyway, if there are 46 other dudes in the country better than Cedarian Morgan, it's the best recruiting crop there's ever been. I mean that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, you can't comp someone to Julio with a straight face and then say he's the 49th best player in the country. All these rankings, we're at the halfway point. All rankings are going to catch up and rearrange and update. There's a whole senior season to play. I went on a rant the other day that I think some people appreciated, got some texts about it, meaning that, the NFL, like Mel Kiper right now, he's got his board of what he thinks next April is going to look like. But you know what Mel wants to watch before he finalizes that? The entire season of football to be played this fall. He would kind of like to see that before he gets a little more adamant about what his board looks like. Recruiting is exactly the same. There's a whole season to play. So recruiting rankings are not finalized by any means, to say nothing of those postseason all-star games, which have a tremendous impact on rankings because all the highly rated players are together, performing together. It's easier to measure them side by side.
All right, I'm putting OG 20, or is it DG? I can't. My OG 22. Who's apparently an Auburn fan. He says Bama wide receivers core won't come close to Auburn's. First of all, that's crazy talk. It doesn't mean Auburn's isn't good. Cam Coleman's really good. Eric Singleton's really good. Malcolm Simmons really good.
Receivers are fantastic. They're starting. I said it on the show the other day. They're starting 3 receivers are basically as good as anybody's in the SEC. So that's true.
I totally agree. But this not come close to. I mean, there's several sites that have Alabama's receiver room, either 1 or 2 in the country. So
the depth of Alabama's room is probably better than Auburn's. Their top 3 can compete with anybody. I think the depth of the room at Alabama is very good. Auburn's is depthier than has been. I mean, that's true. I mean, that's probably the strong point of Auburn's team, really.
And I wasn't going to say this because I wanted to be polite, but thankfully Ryan Gunn is going to step up to the mic. He says OG 22 spelled core wrong, which he absolutely did because the core is C-O-R. Anyway, yeah. All right. Y'all know what he's saying. And I sometimes I invite Auburn people to hate watches. I invite anybody to, and so I'm fine with that. I'm trying not to just pick on anybody in particular. But I'll tell you somebody I am picking on.
I hate watch those Housewives shows.
I'll tell you somebody who I'm going to pick on.
Them, I just hate on the whole cast.
I'm going to pick on people who don't handle their money well, and I'm going to help you out with Monarch Money. Just gave you all a good lesson in segues. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. Come on now. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one little old place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I love using it because it let me know how much I was spending on eating out all the time. I can't just go to Hardee's every time I feel like it. I just can't. Not anymore. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for half off your first year with monarchmoney.com. Jimmy, you think that CD Morgan's instant impact? I do.
Well, yes, he's just too good not to. A lot of wide receivers show up and they're sort of physically overwhelmed by press coverage. I mean, that's a big thing, by the way, for a little lesson here is in high school, that's not a thing like it is in college. In college, it's a major jump for these guys to all of a sudden face press coverage for the first time. And not just press coverage from SEC cornerbacks. And a lot of players struggle getting off the line of scrimmage when they're first getting to the college game. Not going to be a problem for CD Morgan. He's so physically overwhelming. He'll be physically ready to play. Now, what he's got to pick up on is the nuances of college football, some route running, probably got to improve the hands. I think they're going to work on his body just a little bit. He's such a naturally big, thick kid. But I do think he'll be instant impact. It'll be interesting to see who Alabama loses off this upcoming wide receiver group. I mean, we know that Jeremy Bernard's a senior, so he's out. But Zay Horton, is he a guy that could go pro early? Who might leave? Who's going to get frustrated? Hey, this is going to happen. Sometimes I don't mind. I know I'm the optimistic guy, right? Sometimes I don't mind being the bearer of bad news. I'm going to say it. Alabama probably have a wide receiver or two that leaves. You know why? I mean, they're all good enough. They want the ball. And there's only one ball. And you got Ryan Williams and Germ and Zay Horton and Rico Scott and Lazier Brooks. And they all want the ball. to say nothing of Hale and Cole Adams and Jalen Mbakwe and Derek Meadows, Bubba Hampton. I mean, they're all going to want the ball. So let's see what the wide receiver core looks like next year. But yeah, my money would be on CD Morgan playing quickly.
I definitely think he plays quickly. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm looking here from Craig Woodson. He posted a comment, said Christian Miller, former Alabama linebacker Christian Miller, who I think is on the radio or he has his own podcast, right?
No, he's on the radio in Tuscaloosa. He does a good job. He's on 100.9 and is off and on with his dad.
He's a good dude. Christian Miller, not very high on CD Morgan. He said he needs to work on his route running and pump comparisons.
Pump the brakes on the Julio comparison, I think is kind of what he's saying.
Okay. Oh, pump comparison, the Julio comparison. Okay, gotja. I couldn't get past that part. But now let me say this about that. Okay. That BRH, I agree with Christian Miller to a degree. His route running isn't as crisp as Jerry Rice's, Amari Cooper's, and I'm being over the top here. But I'm also going to say he's 6'4", 220. And so he doesn't have to have the crispest routes when you're bigger, stronger, and probably faster than most everybody you're going against. Yeah. And secondly, those are things that can be worked on. And thirdly, that's something that's going to be worked on this year. For those who don't know, Benjamin Russell's got a new coach from Montgomery Catholic. It's Kirk Johnson, I believe is his name. It's Kirk Johnson. He has some serious experience doing really well in high school football. He has brought over Jermaine Prayer with him from his old high school. Now, some people don't like that kind of stuff, whatever, but that's what he's done. And I'm for it because he's at my hometown school now. And I think I'm not saying Cedarian Morgan hadn't had good quarterback play necessarily. 2 years ago, he had a really great athlete who I think went on to play baseball somewhere as his quarterback. Last year, I think he had a pretty good quarterback. Prayer is a different animal. I think this is going to be something where, man, I think they're going to learn from each other. And I really think Kirk Johnson's going to come in here and teach him a lot. And I think he's going to be more ready than he was if it had just been the old BRHS staff. No offense to the old BRHS staff. Just calling it like I see it.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Christian Miller. I enjoy his work on 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. Really respect his opinion. A couple of things, though. Route running, as Luke said, that's something that can improve. That's something Shep's going to work with him with. I mean, that's something that he hasn't really gotten the highest level coaching, teaching. So I'm not worried about that because I just do think that's something that's going to improve over time and as he gets coached by Shep. And secondly, the Julio comparisons. I get what you're saying. Just understand, we're not saying he's Julio Jones. He's going to have Julio's career. We're saying he's like Julio. Why? Both were 6'4", 220 at the same age. Both could run extremely well for their size. Both were ranked similarly. Both 5-star in-state receivers. Just very similar. And I think when you watch CD play, he's going to remind everyone of Julio. That doesn't mean he's going to have Julio's career. No one here has said that he's going to have Julio's numbers, that he's going to be the 6th pick in the draft and go play for the Falcons and have a Hall of Fame NFL career. No one's saying that. I'm just saying he's physically like Julio. You're on mute, probably because you got excited about.
I did get excited. I had a good thing too. I had a good thing.
You at 5-putted 17, I think it's an excellent.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say. We got some breaking news. The Moon has let us know Hugh did 5-putt 17, so that's bad for him. Meanwhile, Stephen Allen says CD Morgan flipping in a few months, so don't get too excited. I'm going to call BS. I'll take a bet up with you, Stephen. I'm just telling you, I don't think it's happening now.
I don't think
crazier things have happened.
I don't think we'll see as many flips as we used to. That doesn't even have anything to do with CD Morgan. I just think there's going to be fewer flips. And again, because it's this new rev share world, has nothing to do with Alabama, nothing to do with Auburn, nothing to do with CD Morgan. It has everything to do with the new rev share world we're living in, where that's kind of dictating so much of what's happening right now. I'm with Luke. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. Plus, as the kid said in his thing, he's an Alabama fan. He never wanted to play anywhere but Alabama. He was very clear in his interview that he's an Alabama guy. So I don't see that happening. But could it happen? It's recruiting. Recruiting. Another word for recruiting is insanity.
That is the definition of insanity is following recruiting. That is true. Somebody asked about the class rankings now. Alabama is up to 6th in both the 24/7 and the On3 composite. And somebody said, well, that seems a little low for 4 or 5 stars. And it does, but I think it's more about the numbers. Alabama's only got 17 commits, right? So I think help me out with the pronunciation of the other quarterback we're looking at from Hawaii, who's now in Utah.
Yeah, Taven Kawa.
Taven Kawa. Gesundheit. But so Taven Kawa, if he were to commit, he's a 4-star. Nolan Wilson, we think he commits 4-star. Jaira Edwards, 5-star. When those 3 guys commit,
Nolan's
and I think
Nolan's a half 4-star too. I mean, Nolan Wilson's going to be a big.
I think Alabama moves up to 2, maybe even 1.
It could. I think what might happen, and again, we're just spitballing here. This run is going to, probably, like I said, Nolan Wilson, probably Jaira Edwards on Saturday. Alabama, I'm not going to say they're done, but I will say after that, probably almost done. So they could get caught from behind as you get towards December. But I think where Alabama ends up ranked Saturday night, probably be about the high point, for the season.
Yeah. Unless now, again, Tank Jones will help move that ship a little bit in the positive direction.
It could. I mean, obviously, I would even say today Tank Jones is the favorite, but I do think there's a 100% legit concern it could be A&M.
Yeah, and that's what I was just talking on the radio about. Like, look, it's so funny. We've got all this good news coming. Everybody's like, I'm so worried about Tank Jones. I'm going to tell you something. At this point, I'll go on record and say this is the best 2-week run in Alabama history in terms of recruiting. Okay. I followed it a long time, and I don't know all the dates, but I'd have a hard time remembering a run like this.
Yeah, and you can't get too depressed over Tank. If it does happen where Tank ends up somewhere else, if it does, Tank's most likely abandoned. I know there's some talk about Wolf, but he's most likely abandoned. You already have Jamarian Matthews. As of July 4th, you might have Nolan Wilson. I mean, it's a little much to be like, oh, man, we didn't get – you've got 2 top 100 players at that spot. Who else has that? You probably signed the number 1 bandit class in America with Jamarian Matthews and Nolan Wilson. So I wouldn't cry myself to sleep over that Tank Jones news if it goes that way. But as of today, I like Tank at Alabama as of today.
Zachary Tampa Bay Whitfield says, can you imagine if we get somebody named Tank over Auburn? That's pretty interesting. They've only had 1 Tank that I know of, though, right?
Alabama had a punter named Tank. I mean, it's in the Wayback Machine. Tank Williamson.
Yeah, I remember that. Punter.
Yeah, but actually, Alabama's biggest competition for Tank is probably Texas A&M and not Auburn.
Yeah, so it's all right. Well, look, y'all, hey, go celebrate this one. We think we have a day off from emergency pods tomorrow. We think, unless the quarterback were to pull the trigger or something and then just make it a crazy run of like every day somebody's committing. Because on the 4th, we think we get Nolan Wilson. On the 5th, we think we get Edwards. So, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. But if tomorrow we think we have a little bit of a respite from emergency podcast, but regardless, y'all go enjoy this. Cedarian Morgan's a big one. You want to make yourself happy if you're an Alabama fan, go check out his huddle tape. Every pass is hey, screw it, Cedarian's down there somewhere, and he just goes up and gets it, and you're like, how did he even catch that? Part of it is because the video isn't great, but part of it is because he's so awesome.
He's king of the jump ball. I mean,
he is king of the jump ball.
Now, obviously, he's not going to dominate college competition like he does high school competition. And one more thing to keep in mind, because I watch a lot of huddle, and I know not everybody out there watches as much. But one thing to keep in mind that I want to stress every time when you watch that tape, that CD is a junior. He's already better right now than he was when you watch that tape. That's his junior year. His senior year is going to be even better.
Stephen Allen, one of the resident Auburn fans watches, says, are y'all the ones negative recruiting against Hugh?
I know I am.
If I thought it would help, I would.
I am. I'm telling you, I don't think his iron game is what everyone else says it is. I think from 175 and in,
he's as good as anybody.
Yeah, pretty good. But you get him at 175 out. I mean, I don't know. Hugh's got to work on a short game.
Yeah, he does. He does. But are we the ones negative recruiting? Let me tell you something. If I thought my negative recruiting would do something to Auburn, then yes, I'm that guy. But I don't think my negative recruiting is doing anything.
No,
So,
in all seriousness, Auburn is. I mean, it's Auburn's having a struggle recruiting season. That's a fact. Now I know that they're pointing to the regular season as, hey, this will fix everything. Maybe so. I agree. This should be the best Auburn team in years on the field this fall. Should be, but recruiting has been. I mean, I don't think it's unfair to say recruiting has been disastrous for Auburn this cycle.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Y'all enjoy Cedarian Morgan Day, and until next time, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.